Well, you're right on time for breaking today. Good evening from where you're watching us from. My name is Joel Church and our sign language interpreter is Tracy Dorcas. We have a lot in line for you and these are our top stories. A day after the ban on public gatherings was extended, ODM leader Raila Odinga meets with over 1,500 delegates in Nyanza. One Kenya Alliance principal strongly dismissed reports that the Mombasa presidential invitation is meant to politically make them back ODM leader Raila Odinga in 2022. Kayole residents staged violent protest after a 38-year-old man was allegedly killed by police last night after he was caught outside during curfew hours. Well, talk to us via social media platforms as SweetTV Kenya, Joel Chacha M on Twitter, as well on Facebook, SweetTV Kenya and Joel Chacha. Send in an SMS via 111 444 We begin. Kayole residents staged violent protest after a 38-year-old man was allegedly killed by police last night after he was caught outside during curfew hours. This comes days after the hearing of the Embu brothers case, who were allegedly killed after flaunting curfew orders. Sazamunga now reports.
Businesses in Kayole Estate came to a standstill after residents engaged police in a running battle after a 38-year-old man was killed. John Kiru is said to have been beaten after he was caught by police past curfew hours, leading to his death.
Wezi uliwa na corona na tuliwa na mapolisi wenye wanafaa tulinde. Hapa hakuna gamuizi hapa.
Tunaiba, tunaanza kuiba. Tunafanya kazi yetu ya mkono yetu. Bado tunauliwa bado. Ukiiba unauliwa. Ukifanya kazi yako bado unauliwa. Sasa sisi tuhame Kenya tuende wapi?
Kuna probox nyingine. Kuna probox nyingine hapa inaitwa BY, imedhulumu watu. Moroko wangu jo anauzafisha hapa hivi chini. Mokoro ikifika hizo maidha anatupiwa ngatia gas na ni madhe. Unapata saa 4 akitolewa. Kazi isipotolewa wafanye vile wanadai kufanya.
Wana chance.
Efforts by police to recover the body from the scene were opposed as the residents threw stones and lit fire on the roads, trying to block any activities by the police. The incident occurs days after 6 police officers were arraigned in court over the murder of 2 Embu brothers who died after being arrested past curfew hours. Cases of police killings have been on the rise since the enforcement of COVID-19 rules. Sazamunga, SweetTV.
We shift gears now to matters politics. A day after an extension of a ban on political gatherings and public gatherings by President Uhuru Kenyatta, the ODM leader Raila Odinga has continued his campaign in the western bloc of the country, meeting 1,500 delegates. Raila has said that for the longest time, the productive economy of the bloc has been stagnated by lack of proper streamlined system. Robert Ouma with the details.
In a campaign dubbed Starting from the Grassroots, the ODM party leader Raila Odinga, in company of a section of ODM party members, have continued to seek favor with their supporters.
Our desire to unite our people and the country, the Azimio la Muungano, is a noble and worthy cause. It deserves our support.
The leaders insisting that the run for presidency in the much anticipated 2022 general election would only bear fruits in the region and the country if only Raila Odinga would be voted in office, attributing much on economic shift of the Western Bloc.
We could drastically turn this region around by developing the homegrown industries like soapstone that have accorded livelihoods to our people but at very subsistence level. The dream of investment in skills and rural transformation for local industrialization could easily begin here. We can do more to sufficiently organize the informal food markets where food is bought and sold.
Following the rising numbers of COVID-19 and positivity rate in the country, the ODM as a party has shelved all its campaign, including the mass Kakamega rally that was scheduled for tomorrow.
And we say, inawezekana.
Robert Ouma, SweetTV.
Meanwhile, Deputy President William Ruto has said that Kenyans are no longer interested in the politics that does not help change their lives for the better, and it's high time people had to come to the realization that changing the constitution was only aimed at creating positions for a few leaders instead of transforming the country. He spoke today when he met religious leaders from Embu County at his current residence. The Deputy President said it was not going to be business as usual in Kenya, and he also explained that the proposed policy will create millions of jobs and a conducive business environment.
As a people, the die is cast. The decision has been made that we are going to create a society that gives equal opportunity to every citizen of Kenya. And we are determined as a people to change our fortunes by not focusing on changing the constitution, but focusing on changing our economy. And through the economic revolution of the bottom-up model.
Elsewhere, One Kenya Alliance principals have strongly dismissed reports that their Mombasa presidential invitation is meant to politically make them back ODM leader Raila Odinga in 2022. Speaking today in Mombasa, NC boss Musalia Mudavadi said Kenyans deserve correct, factual and balanced reporting of events taking place in the nation, further confirming yesterday's meeting was on the new COVID-19 surge and containment measures.
These have been very cordial consultative meetings deliberating on national matters. Indeed, yesterday's meeting was one such conference where a new COVID surge and containment measures were the subject of the extensive discussion. No one asked or even suggested that we support anyone for anything.
Now, the Council of Governors has announced the postponement of the 7th and final annual devolution conference, which was scheduled to take place in Makueni County from 23rd to 26th August. The Council of Governors Chairman Martin Wambora says that the postponement was prompted by the recent ban on all public gatherings and in-person meetings, and that the new conference dates will be communicated in due time.
The steering committee of the 7th and final annual devolution conference, which was to be held in Makueni, hereby notifies members of the public on inevitable postponement of the devolution conference. The emphasis here is postponement, not cancellation. This is premised on the presidential directive issued on 18th August 2021, FIDE Public Order number 5 of 2021 on coronavirus pandemic, where it was stated that the positivity rate is at 30%, suspending all the public gatherings and in-person meetings.
Moving on, NCIC says they have engaged with Senate and National Assembly to amend the Commissions Act to give institutions more powers to curb the hate speech as the country gears towards the general elections. The Commission saying that the country has a lot to learn from the just concluded Zambian elections, as Shilling Etich reports.
With months to the 2022 general election, the National Cohesion and Integration Commission says that the country should replicate how the Zambians conducted themselves during their elections.
And professionally conducted the elections and allowed the will of the people to prevail. They did not interfere with the transmission of the results. They performed their work in a professional way, in a competent way, and that is why it was difficult to contest the results of that election.
The NCIC was part of the election observers under the COMESA who observed the several regions within Zambia as the country headed to the polls. The Commission is, however, worried that how successful the polls will be is dependent on how the political class conducts themselves before, during and after the elections.
Tribalism is not an important factor there. Of course, in Kenya, our main locus or main principle of mobilization for campaigns is a tribe. But we can also upgrade ourselves to the point whereby Kenya is more important than my tribe, and Kenya is more important than my party.
Further, Commissioner Dr. Danvas Makori urged the IEBC to be transparent and accountable as they conduct the polls.
Especially the transparency that was exemplified was of the highest degree. The accountability was of the highest degree. The people conduct themselves, of course, in utmost respect to one another, but ECZ especially, the officials.
The Commission now recommends arrest of leaders spewing hate messages and the utter upholding of the rule of law. Sheila Ngetich, Switch TV.
On to other news, Kenya being a constitutional democracy where the executive and judiciary are independent, it is expected of them not to dictate each other's jurisdiction. But is this the case in the country? Mariam Jahid expounds more limits of the executive when it comes to the will of the Mwananchi.
It was good news for Kenyans after High Court declared the order by the government last year restricting public gatherings and processions to curb COVID-19 as illegal and unconstitutional. But their happiness was cut short when President Uhuru Kenyatta gave the directive on suspension of public gatherings immediately after.
That all physical and in-person public gatherings and meetings, including political rallies and campaign meetings for impending by-elections, are hereby suspended with immediate effect for a period of 60 days.
It has been a norm for the Kenyan government to challenge High Court rulings such as proposed constitutional reforms through Building Bridges Initiative BBI after it declared it illegal. Another war between the judiciary and the executive was after President Uhuru Kenyatta left out 6 of the nominated judges by the Judicial Service Commission on grounds they did not meet the threshold.
The IG must operate independently. He or she must not be told what to do. So their office, they should not be told what to enforce. The IG is there courtesy of the people. So he or she must act independently.
But is the security advisory of Kenyan government in line with the constitution on matters of the importance of obeying court rulings? According to the constitutional expert Nurdin Kagai, even if the government decides to suspend public gatherings, it should not be selective on who to be penalized or not.
If laws are meant to serve the best interests of every Kenyan, then everyone should be on board and every single party should observe the law. And it should apply irrespective of whatever political divide you are in. Because the moment it is selective, it stops being a law. It becomes defective, null, and void.
With President Uhuru Kenyatta ending his final term, are there repercussions of his actions in the near future?
Court orders don't expire. And breach of law doesn't expire. So they should be very careful how they handle issues because you don't know what happens next once you're not there.
The judiciary has gone on record accusing the Attorney General of misadvising the government, situations that has seen the executive disregard direct court orders. Mariam Jahid, Switch TV, Nairobi.
As the world today marks the International Humanitarian Day, the world witnesses record-breaking heatwaves, catastrophic storms, and changing weather patterns. It is fitting that the theme of World Humanitarian Day should be climate crisis. In Kenya, the Kenya Red Cross Society is ramping up its efforts to avert a drought crisis that close to 20 counties are facing. The Kenyan government, on the other hand, through the Kenya's Drought Response Plan, requires 9.4 billion Kenya shillings for the July-November period, of 5.8 billion Kenya shillings for food and safety net support, and 3.6 billion Kenya shillings for non-food interventions. Elsewhere, Narok County Governor Samuel Ole Tunai has called on members of the Narok County Assembly to pass stiff penalties on men who impregnate underage girls after the county was ranked first in the teenage pregnancies among young girls. He has urged the Narok County Assembly to pass legislation in which men who impregnate underage girls will be castrated. He said it is unfortunate that men are still preying on young schoolgirls, and insisted that the future of young girls in the county needs to be protected.
Special occasion.
It's a very, very serious concern. Mnajua kwamba kila wakati unasoma news kwamba Narok is leading 40% ya wasichana, na sana sana inaongozwa na Narok East. Early pregnancies sana. Hiyo ni very serious. Of course the SGM as usual na early marriages yote inafuatana. Lakini muweke hiyo priority sana, the honorable ladies MCAs who are here. You know, you have to do something about it. Nalisema mtu akishikana ameweka mimba kwa castrated. Hiyo bili na imesemekana inapita hapa sasa.
Well, 13 minutes past 7 p.m. we are due for a short commercial break. But before that, Kenya has today recorded 1,263 new COVID-19 cases. That means the positivity rate is now at 14.6%. We now take a short commercial break. We'll be back with more. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Breaking Today. My name is Joel Church and our sign language interpreter is Tracy Dorcas. Our focus now on business, on matters business. A KCB Group has doubled its net profit for the first 6 months to June to 15.3 billion Kenya shillings as the bank's earnings make a comeback on the back of a reduced provisioning from bad debts from 11 billion Kenya shillings set aside last year to 6.5 billion Kenya shillings in June 2021. KCB also has made 47.1 billion Kenya shillings through lending to the private sector and government, a 14% jump from 41.3 billion Kenya shillings it made in a similar period last year. Additionally, its subsidiary National Bank of Kenya returned to profitability. Its investment in National Bank has also paid off as the subsidiary posted a 17.6 million Kenya shillings in half-year net profit from a loss of 381.3 million Kenya shillings in 2020.
And our intention is to achieve 93% shareholding, and 76% is what we already have in the bag, and we have all the approvals. So what is remaining is just the final stages of concluding. That will significantly boost our businesses as a group level when the transactions happens. And you may wonder, what are we going to do with the Bank Populaire? We have another bank in Rwanda as well, which is KCB Bank. The aim is to consolidate on one platform those two businesses and run it as one.
Now, trade associations have asked for immediate reopening of the economy and ending the COVID-19 containment measures issued by the government to reduce loss of livelihoods from the effects of the pandemic. The 8 associations from across the retail, hospitality, transport, creative and entertainment sectors also backed the motion in Parliament urging the government to concentrate on measures to revive the economy and vaccinate more people.
So you're just going to explain this.
And also, we have a representative of the musician. Apologies from ABA, which is
the curfew has really affected our businesses. It is a great concern to our government maybe to do issues concerning what maybe we are demanding as leaders here, the government to do.
Hii ni maneno ambayo tunataka yasimamishwe. Na tunataka tu announce leo ya kwamba maeneo ya burudani inafaa ifungwe saa 3. Na nitarudia, maeneo ya burudani yaliongezewa masaa na wanafaa wafunge saa 3.
Startup ecosystem players in Africa have today kicked off a 2-day workshop to design solutions for challenges facing startups in the region. Dubbed Empowering the Startup Community, the workshop sessions are expected to brainstorm of ideas and solutions that will contribute to a stronger, smarter and more connected startup ecosystem, more so during the COVID-19 period. The workshop will aim at boosting the local startup ecosystem. The two are hosting at least 25 representatives from incubation hubs, accelerators, farms, and other entrepreneurs support organizations, among them other countries Ethiopia, Kenya, Rwanda, Uganda, Somalia, and Tanzania.
Trying to see that we are able to grow ideas and we are able to scale the startups so that they can grow and beyond just being startups and becoming SMEs, and also on their way to medium through up to the large companies and enterprises.
We see a lot of similarities in East Africa as sort of like a collection of the countries, and between like perhaps Eastern Europe, where we are more experienced.
We now focus on these business stories. Sony shipped 4.5 million PlayStation 5 consoles worldwide through the end of 2020, but our very own Apollo James tells us potential PS5 customers on why they shouldn't expect the rate of production to increase despite widespread retail sellouts that have led to substantial second-hand makeups.
Since Sony's newest console, the PlayStation 5, dropped in November 2020, gamers have been scrambling for a chance to get their hands on one. The console has long been out of stock, and for a time the only way to purchase one on demand was to pay dealers' prices on resale sites, which are so expensive. More than 6 months after the console's release, the PS5 is still next to impossible to get, with many gamers unable to secure an order for one. Why are PS5 still sold out everywhere? Why is the PS5 so hard to find? Gamers who have been religiously hunting down the elusive console often find restock sell out within minutes, And even those with some of the best methods to alert of sales are coming up empty-handed. This is mostly due to the continued semiconductor shortage. This chip is used in the manufacturing of the PS5, and there has been a global shortage, affecting industries ranging from video games to medical equipment. Unfortunately, it doesn't look as though these shortages will improve anytime soon. It will be difficult to find a PS5 well into 2022. Sony has considered altering the PS5's design to accommodate the shortage, though it's currently unclear if it will decide to move forward with a different design. Apollo James, Switch